What happens when a young Hollywood star, beloved by critics and fans alike, gets publicly sidelined in the middle of one of the world's most glamorous film festivals? At the 2025 Venice Film Festival, Ayo Edebiri faced an awkward, uncomfortable moment that left Julia Roberts and Andrew Garfield squirming in their seats, and the internet erupting in rage. But instead of shutting down or lashing out, Ayo chose grace, poise, and powerful words that turned a disrespectful question into a viral teaching moment. Tonight, we break down how one of the brightest stars of her generation silenced ignorance with elegance, and why this moment might change Hollywood's future forever. Ayo Edebiri, known for her breakout role in The Bear and now making waves with her psychological thriller After the Hunt, has been called one of the most talented actresses of her generation. She's also been admired for her intelligence, wit, and quiet confidence on red carpets and in interviews. But at Venice 2025, when she sat down alongside two Hollywood titans, Julia Roberts and Andrew Garfield, she found herself caught in the middle of an interview that went terribly wrong. The Italian journalist interviewing the trio posed what he thought was a provocative question. Instead, it came across as dismissive and tone-deaf. He asked Julia and Andrew, not Ayo, about what Hollywood had lost during the politically correct era, and what to expect now that Me Too and Black Lives Matter are done. The tension was immediate. Andrew Garfield shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Julia Roberts, who has spent decades mastering the art of interviews, looked puzzled and tried to clarify. "Can you repeat that? With your sunglasses on, I can't tell who you're talking to," she pressed. But the journalist doubled down, insisting the question was meant for Julia and Andrew, not Ayo. The awkwardness was so thick, you could feel it through the screen. Here was a question about movements tied to racial justice and systemic inequality, directed to two white actors while the black actress sitting right beside them was ignored. For a few seconds, the silence was deafening. Then came Ayo's moment. She leaned in and with calm composure said, "Well done. Sorry, I know that's not for me, but I don't think it's done. I don't think it's done at all." Her words, measured yet firm, cut through the tension. She reminded the interviewer, her colleagues, and the global audience watching that progress is still ongoing, that hashtags might fade, but activism, awareness, and change remain vital. The reaction online was immediate and explosive. Fans praised Ayo for handling the situation with grace when she had every reason to react with anger. Many called the journalist's exclusion of her racist and insulting, while others expressed admiration for Julia Roberts' attempt to redirect the question and give Ayo space to speak. Clips of Andrew Garfield squirming, Julia's confused double-take, and Ayo's elegant interjection spread like wildfire on X, Instagram, and TikTok. One fan wrote, "The fact that Ayo had to insert herself into a question about Black Lives Matter speaks volumes. She deserves better." Another posted, "She didn't just answer, she educated with dignity. That's star power." The backlash against the interviewer grew so intense that comments on the original video had to be shut down. Eventually, the journalist released a defensive statement, calling the criticism a digital mob and insisting his intentions weren't racist. But the damage was already done. What many don't realize is that this wasn't just an awkward cultural slip-up. The Venice Film Festival has long faced criticism for its lack of diversity, both in the films it showcases and in the media coverage surrounding it. Ayo's moment shined a light on that systemic issue. Behind the scenes, insiders whispered that Ayo's calm, dignified response wasn't just off the cuff, it was part of who she is. Friends and collaborators describe her as someone who thinks deeply before she speaks, who values respect, even in moments of disrespect. That restraint is what turned this potentially humiliating moment into a career-defining one. Industry insiders have weighed in heavily on this incident. One Hollywood publicist told Variety, "If you want to see why Ayo Edebiri is here to stay, look at how she handled Venice. She didn't let the journalist's framing diminish her. She reframed the entire conversation in seconds." A cultural critic on social media added, "This is exactly why representation matters." Ayo's presence on that panel was essential. Without her voice, the conversation would have been hollow. Hollywood needs to learn that ignoring black voices only leads to embarrassing moments like this. And perhaps most tellingly, fellow actors have privately applauded Ayo. A source close to the cast of After the Hunt told Deadline, "Julia and Andrew were mortified, but Ayo reassured them afterward. She wanted the focus to stay on the film, not on her. That's a class act." For Ayo, this moment is more than viral fodder. It cements her reputation as a thoughtful, powerful voice in Hollywood. It shows she can handle pressure with dignity, that she won't shrink in uncomfortable moments. For her career, it's another reason casting directors, producers, and studios will continue to fight to work with her. For Hollywood, though, it's a wake-up call. The industry can't keep pretending that conversations about diversity, justice, and accountability are over. Or, as Ayo herself said, "I don't think it's done at all." Her words echo far beyond one interview. They speak to the reality that progress is a journey, not a checkbox. This isn't the first time a young black star has been sidelined in Hollywood spaces. We've seen similar patterns with Zendaya early in her career, where questions about her white co-stars dominated interviews even when she was the lead. Lupita Nyong'o, despite winning an Oscar, was often left out of conversations about beauty standards in Hollywood until she forced her way into them. But unlike some who've had to fight loudly for acknowledgement, Ayo's strategy of subtle power and composure sets her apart. It recalls how Michelle Obama often responded to attacks, not with outrage, but with grace that elevated her above the negativity. It's a strategy that resonates, especially in an era where viral clips can define a celebrity's public image for years. What could have been a painful moment of erasure became instead a showcase of Ayo Edebiri's brilliance. At Venice, she didn't just answer a question, she reframed an entire narrative. And in doing so, she reminded the world that grace under pressure isn't weakness, it's strength. Hollywood may not be done with its struggles, but with stars like Ayo Edebiri leading with courage, humor, and dignity, the future looks brighter than ever.
For full video, click related link below or like and subscribe this channel.